What is going on, everyone? Badger here. Should like and sub. Let's get into this. I know. It's a video. It's not about Warhammer, Stellar Blade, or Helldivers 2. I'm sorry. They can't all be about that, and just nothing new has happened yet. But spoiler, we're probably going to have the next video be about the Stellar Blade petition because it's like right there on the cusp of 80,000, which, come on, baby, 100,000 is the goal. But in the meantime, this is actually some good news, I think, because if only every other company, including the ones that did, Kill Justice League, Suicide Squad, and Remedy, and everyone else, while ignoring the fact that they were already woke and captured, but if they had just fired these consultants or not hired them to begin with, boy, we might be having a different conversation on the gaming landscape. But here we have no rest for the wicked CEO Thomas Mahler rebukes consultant Alexander Braze, who attempted to justify DEI hiring. He was fired. Thomas Mahler, CEO of Moon Studios, which is developing No Rest for the Wicked, rebuked game designer and consultant Alexander Braze, who attempted to justify DEI hiring practices, which end up being illegal in most places when it all gets sussed out. And you could tell they probably would have made this chick black instantly, and lame and gay, in response to a lengthy thread justifying DEI practices by War Dog Studios CEO Jade Law. Brazy posted, "Yeah, it would help if people understood effective DEI is about helping people who historically didn't have the network to get their eyes onto their work or have a chance due to their equal skill." Yeah, and yet somehow we're not seeing that equal skill represented. The whole merit smashing or whole merit smearing is so banal, presumptuous, and out of touch with reality. You want to talk about out of touch with reality is we've literally seen DEI hiring practices, and all it has brought in is people incapable of doing. You didn't pick the cream of the crop, because it's almost like through meritocracy, the cream of the crop was already there. And that's sort of the whole issue. Mahler responded to Brazy's comments and rebuked him in a comment on the author's coverage of the original comments on the Trent report. This person is not affiliated with Moon Studios in any way. He gave him the Zack Snyder. This person is not affiliated with Moon Studios in any way whatsoever anymore. We contracted him for a short stint, and he was fired for bringing nothing but friction into our team, just FYI. And that is what, if you do any pushback, there's friction. And the ones that bring in the Sweet Baby Inks or the Black Girl Gamers or the Gamer X, well, they just bend right over. They let them do whatever they want. They kowtow. They bend the knee. Clearly, this group wasn't having it, and there was friction, and thus, thank you, you fired him instead. In March, Mahler indicated that his company does not really hire consultants. He wrote, "We don't really hire consultants, so pardon me if I'm ignoring all your messages," because I guarantee you he's getting them from the groups I just mentioned, and many more. I pretty much agree with what Jobs had to say about consulting. He added, "And I know I'll get some hate for this, but it is what it is." And that's where we go. And I thought this was actually interesting. The late, great, of course, Steve Jobs, Apple founder, for you kids today, I don't think this is what he said about consulting. And considering how much we've been exposing the DEI consulting narrative, consulting as a fucking grift to push, DEI agenda, Marxist, cultural Marxism. Anyway, this is what Jobs said originally about consulting. He said, "I don't think there's anything inherently evil in consulting. I think that without owning something over an extended period of time, like a few years, where one has the chance to take responsibility for one's recommendations, where one has to see one's recommendations through all action stages and accumulate scar tissue for the mistakes and pick oneself up off the ground and dust oneself off, one learns a fraction of what one can do." Well, what do you think happened to Sweet Baby Inc. While Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League was getting raked over the coals and everything was being refunded and it's losing money? Where were they? Oh, they were off consulting on other games. Where were they when fucking Alan Wake 2 still hasn't made its money back? Where they were getting dragged and raked over the coals and all their shit canceled, no one buying or refunded? They were off consulting on other games. So That's his point there. These companies come in, they push what they want with no thought to the ramifications of the actual story, the game, or the developers themselves, or the gamers, which probably should be the first on their thought. How do we make it a fun game? Not how do we make it a game that meets our standards for inclusion? And then they just fuck right off to the next thing. Jobs added, coming in and making recommendations and not owning the result, not owning the implementation, I think, is a fraction of one of the value of it and a fraction of the opportunity to learn and get it better. You do get a broad cut at companies, but it's very thin. It's like a picture of a banana. You might get a very accurate picture, but it's only 2-dimensional. And without the experience of actually doing it, you never get 3-dimensional. So you might have a lot of pictures on your wall. You can show it off to your friends. You can say, look, I've worked in bananas, I've worked in peaches, I've worked in grapes, but you never really taste it. That's what I think. He concluded, you're also a variable expense, and in hard times, you find yourself cut. If only we had fired or never hired them to begin with. No Rest for the Wicked released in early access on Steam on April 18th. Yeah, and I was looking at some gameplay. It looks like a dungeon crawler type thing, top-ish down third fighting. It looks fun. It looks fun. The people commenting on it look fun. Boy, and I was looking at the trailer. I was like, yeah, I see what they would have done here, and here. So they've early access to the game includes the first chapter of the game's narrative campaign, daily and weekly bounties and challenges, an assortment of quests. Okay, so they're there, and the game is expected to include 4-player co-op. So look, obviously didn't look like a AAA to me, but regardless, as we have that, AAA game moratorium for 2 years about just playing your back catalog, unless you get a game that is flaunting in the face of ruination of the games for, nefarious DEI, Western ideology purposes. There's a long way to say that, yeah, this is a game you could probably support if you're into this type of thing. And the fact that the CEO straight up fired someone extolling the virtues of DEI hiring practices, probably a safe bet. Don't think you're going to find this one on DEI detected, but make sure and check. Either way, let me know what you think of this. I just thought this was a bit of good news in a sea of otherwise depression, because we really are fighting a war on 3 fronts with Stellar Blade, Helldivers, and Warhammer. So we'll keep you up to date on all things. So far with Helldivers 2, it seems like over 100 countries have been delisted, and that's it. Hope you got the game at the time, because you can't get it now. And so you're going to see a huge drop to an already dropping player base on Helldivers 2. Stellar Blade, that petition's going right on up. Like I said, almost at 80. We'll talk about that. And then possible connections with Shift Up and Kotaku being dissolved, if they ever existed to begin with. And then the Warhammer. And, we're just waiting really to see what's going on with Henry and how pissed, if at all, he is about all these shenanigans. But let me know what you think of this. Make sure to like, share, and sub. If you have done that, people, thank you. And if you're going to do that, thank you. I really do appreciate it. And
well, bye.